Coming to you live from the Stream.tv studios in Hollywood, California, Pensado's Place is brought to you by Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Avid, Recording Connection, Studio 202, Slate Media Technologies and Slate Digital, and Audio Technica.
We're announcing a marriage today for the first time ever. We've got brand new info on Gear Expo Nashville. It's going to be a hoot. We got a really cool informational ITL. We are absolutely chock full. You're at the place. It's Pensado's Place.
Hey everybody, glad you could make it with us. Hang out today. It's going to be a fun show. A lot going on in the world of Herb and Dave.
Yeah, there is. That's true. That's true.
And some of it not illegal too. Some of it's pretty good stuff, right, Herbert?
You want to talk about the cannabis stuff now, or leave that alone?
Nah.
Maybe we should leave that alone.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Should we get to it?
Let's do.
Let's do or let's do it. Let's either.
Let's get to it.
Okay, let's get to it. Okay. Well, then let me throw a curve at you.
Okay.
Bonjour, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
See, I was feeling a little Francophile.
A little
beret.
Montreal.
Yeah, a little Montreal bottle of red wine. So, right? So that's for our international
This is
audience.
beneath you, but I'll take it.
Okay, cool. How the heck are you guys? We hope really, really well. Time for another week in all things audio. Our team updated, Dave and I, and we're closing in fast on 100,000 subscribers. You guys are doing your thing. Your power is really felt. It makes a huge, huge difference. So Dave and I thank you so much for that. Our partner sponsors are the folks who ensure that we can bring this program to you in the manner that we do. We are so appreciative of them. Let's talk about them. Vintage King. They're deep in the midst of preparing for Gear Expo Nashville. The beautiful facilities down there is just going to be incredible. We want you to get there. Chad and Chevy and all that team are on the case. More on that stuff in a bit. The legendary Blackbird Studios and the Blackbird Academy are super busy, super active.
The bus?
You can.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good deal. We happen to have the founder and head honcho is in studio today. You're going to hear from him in a bit. Also, Professor Dave Pensado himself will be in Blackbird Studios for their Blackbird session. He'll be in residence September 29th through October 3rd. Our youngster Cole Nystrom is going to go down and assist him, right?
Absolutely. I might assist Cole. I don't know how it goes.
Cole's kind of a
Can
hot
I
little
toss something
teacher.
in here
Sure,
real quick?
absolutely.
Guys, I want you to sign up early because I want to get your email. I want to email you and talk to you about some of the things that you expect to get from this week. It's a chance for us to hang out and learn from each other. And I want to make sure that some of the things that I want to make sure all the things I talk about are relevant to you guys. So I can tailor it to your needs and to your wants and to your areas where you feel you could improve a little bit. But I can only do that if we talk prior to getting there. So get in early. I'll send you an email and we'll get a plan together. And I've got some surprises for you that I think you're going to enjoy.
And the sound you just heard was Karma Banstra just dropping on the floor. No, I'm just teasing.
No.
I
talk about honchos. I ain't about a head honcho. I got approval.
We got hookups.
Yeah.
But we were saying Cole will be down there. Cole went down last time with Dave, and he gets in the mix. He has plenty to share. And what's interesting is he may represent some of where you guys are as a young guy just out of school if you get that opportunity to go. So this is a fabulous chance for you to do a deep dive with Dave. If you're able to do the hang, here's what you need to do. Email karma@theblackbirdacademy.com for all the details. That's C-A-R-M-A, not K, C-A-R-M-A @theblackbirdacademy.com. She'll get you all the information you need. You don't want to miss this. In addition, Team Blackbird is also a big player in the Gear Expo Fun and Games, which we'll talk about in a second. Audio Technica family, they're on board. Love their stuff. You know, we're blessed with channel. We get gear and so on and so forth, and I do a lot of my planning on their headphones. At the top of October, actually at the AES convention, we're going to be helping out introducing some killer new product from them. We'll keep you aware of that information and keep you abreast of that as it comes down the pike. At Gear Expo Nashville, Audio Technica will be there. They're going to give away some great stuff that you can win. We're going to make that easy. You know, we like to come like Santa. It doesn't matter what season it is. We come bearing gifts. Avid as well, thanks to them. Spoke to them last week. Plenty of opportunities for you to get your hands on some Pro Tools. We will get that both on air, which we're going to start doing next week. You have a chance to win on air. And then on the ground at Nashville Expo, Gear Expo Nashville, they're going to give away a bunch of stuff from Avid. Thank them so much. Stephen Slate from Slate Media Technology, he's actually on air with us today. He will be down in Nashville as well too.
Is that legal?
I'm just getting started. Our Recording Connection partners will also be lending their support. It's just going to be a great thing. Now let's do some details on Gear Expo Nashville. We announced last week we had an amazing number of signups just from 1 week. This is going to be a hot Saturday. The details are as such. Saturday, September 27th at the beautiful Vintage King showroom in Nashville, Tennessee, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Indoors, the best gear in the world that you can touch, try, and experience. Outdoors, a straight-up block party. You'll be able to hang with some of the baddest panelists in the planet. You'll be able to deal with, we'll have food trucks and product demos, performances, a beer garden, a ton of product to give away from folks like Isotope, Ultimate Ears, Avid, as we said, Gobbler, G-Tech. We're going to get Steven to give some stuff away. Audio Technica's going to give some stuff away. We'll have a tweet board up so you can virally share the good times on the site. We got more people who want to give stuff away. We just have to get it confirmed, and we'll keep announcing that. We're going to provide, through the auspices of our buddies at Blackbird, a real rock and roll experience. You're going to get a chance to get on a Pensado tour bus while you're at Gear Expo Nashville, head up to Blackbird Studios, get an exclusive tour of literally one of the best studios on the planet.
It is the best studio.
I'm telling you, I know we're biased, but for good reason.
I'm not biased. I've been to all of them.
There you go.
I've worked at all of them.
There you go. So there you go. Not many get a chance to get behind those walls. So here's your chance to have a real exclusive look at a place where the giants record, but the people there are just regular people who care about audio and are passionate about their excellence. You want to take that chance. I think we alluded to panelists earlier. Did somebody say panelists? Mm-hmm. I think I said panelists, correct? Mm-hmm. How about this? Jakir King, Kings of Leon fame and the Hunger Games. Chuck Ainlay, from Miranda Lambert to Pistol Annie's to Trace Atkins.
I can't wait to meet him.
Leslie Braithwaite's coming up from Atlanta. He did Happy for Pharrell, along with 2 Chainz and August Alsina and more. For you live folks, Danny Rosenbaum, who's the Vice President of Morris Light and Sound. It's a touring company who takes Kenny Chesney and Florida Georgia Line and stadium shows. He'll be there. Robbie Burrell will be there. He's a multiple Grammy and Dove winner. Stephen Slade is coming in from L.A. Rocker Ryan Hewitt is coming in from L.A. I spoke with Matt Maher this morning. He just confirmed this guy opened up for the Pope and is an absolute contemporary Christian giant, really talented.
But what he's really known for is his Pensado's award performance.
Absolutely, which was classic and stellar.
Him in Israel.
Just heard from Dave Cobb, a smoking hot producer in Nashville. He confirmed that he'll be at the spot. If you want a one-man fountain of information, John McBride will be on the site. You can ask about live, studio management, gear, artist development, labels, education. Take this opportunity to come learn and ask questions and mix with the best. And of course, 2 not so important guys named Dave and Herb will be around. We want to meet you, say hello, take a picture. Stephanie Spitfire Willis, who's become our on-the-ground person, is down there making it rain. So keep checking back for updates. We're going to have a lot more to add in the next couple weeks. How do you get in? Pretty simple. Go to gearexponashville.com. You see it right here below me. Go right there, put in your email, and you're good. It's that simple. It's free. Come, hang, come from all over. Again, big response in first week, so get cracking. Don't delay. Your opportunity to mix, mingle, learn, and experience with best-in-class folk is something that Dave and I really love providing. Mm-hmm. We want you to take the opportunity to do it. And frankly, Dave and I like meeting you. You've been so supportive of us. We want to be supportive of you. So we're calling you out. We're calling out all our friends at the schools and states surrounding Nashville. Georgia, Alabama, Missouri, Kentucky, Indiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, the Carolinas. Let's get it. You know how we do those calls. Let's get it. We want to see you there. Get your emails in. Get all the info and stuff you need. Get some free gear. Come on down. It's going to be a blast. Are you going? Oh, cool. Cool. I just wanted to check.
I went to school in Carolina, so I'm eligible.
So absolutely, you are eligible. This is
I
going
can't
to be
even say
fun.
eligible, but I'm eligible.
You know how when we do these things, they get a sort of momentum? This one has gotten real momentum
It
early.
has, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's going to be a ball. I think.
You know what? John and I were talking a little before the show, and I'm a little jealous that I didn't have these sorts of things because I had so many questions, and poor Ed C, I just drove him nuts with a million. If I could have spread those questions around to a couple of people at Gear Expo, that would have just been a wonderful thing. So that's kind of the benchmark of what we do, is just things that would have helped me when I was starting out.
Well,
in a lot
you know,
of ways.
the blessing is that even though we didn't have it, we get to bring it. So we get to be one of people.
And I learn
that,
more than anybody too at those things.
Yeah,
I really
no,
do.
it's a ball. Yesterday, let's talk about our experience yesterday.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was so much.
Dave and I went down to one of our new friends. We have several new friends, and we're blessed to have them. People like Gobbler and G-Tech and some other folks. And one of our newest friends is a company called Ultimate Ears. So whenever you see performers or folks, and they have those inner ear monitors and performing, this is the company that does those. We went down. We'll tell them what we did yesterday.
Well, first of all, I was very familiar with their in-ear monitors for live performances. And I had no idea the intricacies and the amount of technology that's involved in those things. I thought you just get some off-the-shelf components, shove them in some plastic, and throw it in my ear, and I'm rocking.
Right.
Ooh, my goodness. We saw virtual printers. We saw laser printers. We saw proprietary software that was beyond my ability to comprehend. And we saw a dedicated staff of just very highly skilled, gifted people working in very tiny little components. And I was very impressed, blown away. I was questioning why some of their components cost what they cost, and they're very underpriced. I mean, good
Now
Lord,
that you see
it must cost so much to manufacture. The quality control is massive because it's going in your ear, and they take that very seriously. Even paying attention to details in terms of the ear.
Unbelievable.
It was, from an audio perspective, it was just heaven. And from a scientific perspective, it was equally impressive, wasn't it, Herb?
Yeah, so let's show the little ITL that shows a little bit of their process.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
What we're known for as Ultimedia initially is custom in monitors that were designed for musicians. When musicians are singing on stage, they have the need of hearing themselves back. So they have those devices that are called custom in-ear monitors, which are essentially replacing monitors that they used to have on stage and bring this to their ears. When a musician has the desire or the need to get a custom in-ear monitors, the process starts by taking ear impression. And what that means is we are actually inserting inside your ear a little paste that will harden after a few minutes, and that will give us the exact contour design of your ear. So welcome to the Shell Lab. So this is the place where we take your ear impression and we remove all the parts that are unnecessary, and then this is also the location where we create that shell, that piece that's going to end up in you. This gentleman here will take the ear impression and cut and remove and polish all the excess material that we have, and also will make sure that the ear canal is absolutely clean so we can create a cast with this. So from that ear impression, what we'll do is we'll create a cast. That cast will then allow us to pour the mixture or the color that you had of that acrylic inside that cast. And once that cast is filled up with the acrylic, it goes into this UV curing machine here, which will harden the shell from the outside in. And that shell will be the container where we will have the ability to put the speakers. We usually put multiple speakers into each of the shells because it allows us to sculpt, to craft basically the frequency response that this device will produce as you are listening to music. So the final stage, before we pack it and ship it to you, is the ability to customize the artwork on the outside of the faceplate. So these are just samples, but you can see the type of detail that we can put on the outside of your shells. We have from the small garage band that wants to protect their ears and start to hear themselves a little bit better to some of the top acts in the world. And that is one of the key things that we do. We try to treat each of those musicians the same way. We give them a premium experience when they come here, and we want these people, as they grow, as they become closer to Grammy Awards and stardom, that they always use Ultimate Ears. And they knew that we were there when they started, and we're still there now as they are the top touring musicians.
I have the pleasure of introducing two people who don't need any introduction whatsoever. You hear us talk about them a lot. You know their products. You know their passion and excellence. And if you don't, you're about to find out. To my immediate left, the one, the only John McBride, and to my far left, also the only one and the only Stephen Slate. Yay. Welcome, gents.
Great to be here.
Good to have you here.
Fun
Absolutely.
to be back, guys.
Absolutely. You know, speaking of that, I think we probably all share this kind of almost borderline psychotic passion about for what we do and drive. You and I communicate by email at 3 o'clock in the morning, like it's normal. You know, when you're with Steven, and like I always say, when I'm at lunch with Steven and Dave, I have about 20 seconds to get in business, and then it's going to be about gear and technology and all that kind of stuff. I think that's something that is missing a little bit. Don't you think that's something that we could use more of in our business and people who care? What do you think?
Well, I think that, you know, this is all derived from the passion of creating art. So I think it all centers from that wonderful craft, and I think you need passion if you're going to be creating art.
And because we love it, it's work. Nobody should get this wrong, that we don't grind. I mean, you know, to dangerous levels at some point in time, but it starts with something that we love doing, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think you can do it that hard unless you love it.
Well, I think passion attracts passion.
Yeah.
I think that's how Stephen and I got together, honestly. And us.
Probably us.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
One of the things that I like about both of you guys is there's a lot of studios and a lot of gear, a lot of software out there that's really good, but it doesn't have a personality to it. Some of the studios I work in feel like dentist's office, and some of the plugins I use feel like they were done by scientists. But Steve and I were talking a little earlier, and one of the things we enjoy about you, John, is the first time Stephen went through your studio and got the tour, first time Herb and I did, the one thing that was clearly evident was your personality is everywhere there. Didn't you feel that, Stephen, when you were there?
So Fabrice and I took a trip to Nashville back in the spring, and John took us through Blackbird, and you meet John and you see this amazing studio.
Yeah.
And you immediately realize that this studio embodies the personality that is John McBride.
No doubt.
I mean, it is excessive.
Yeah.
It is filled with passion. It is slightly obsessive compulsive, like John, you know, in terms of the wiring and the custom electricity. I mean,
Exactly.
it just exudes this personality that is the studio version of John himself. And it's really inspiring, which is why I actually, you know, on behalf of John and myself, wanted to announce the fact that, you know, Blackbird and Slate are kind of pairing up, and we're going to be working on some co-branded products together to try to bring this amazing, you know, brand out to the masses and allow people to experience this brand who don't necessarily have to be in there in Nashville at the studio, which I still recommend you do, because this place is amazing.
We don't want to do much. We just want to change the world.
It's
not
so let's stay there for a second.
Again, you mean, or for the
And by the
second
way,
time?
Dave, what you said earlier, good is the enemy of great.
That's right.
All right?
Wow.
That's right.
So I don't like good because you're tempted to accept it, you know?
Yeah.
And good is not going to cut it. But great, that works every time. So we shoot for great always.
When you, to Stephen's point, when you take the tour, and then I want to go back to Union, what was interesting for me was when we had lunch. So it's not just the tour, it's the way we ate. It was like people were standing by, get the food, get it down quickly. We're going to multitask while we're eating this, that, and the other. We're going to get back on the thing. And there was just no, right? There was and I love that. We were like, oh, let's get it done. The other part is his enthusiasm felt like it was the first time he had given the tour, and it must be the 10,000th time. And I was just so stunned at the just it's almost a kid-like
Did
energy.
you notice her when he held a microphone? He held it like a child.
Man, listen,
he held it like this.
It was sort of sexy, kind of
You know,
like
I have an
there was
interesting
like,
story about microphones when John was giving us the tour.
What happened? Tell us.
So, you know, Fabrice Gabriel, big shout out to Fabrice.
Fabrice.
Bad boy.
Yeah,
Bad
so
boy.
Fabrice and I were walking through the studio, and obviously, if you don't know, John McBride and Blackbird have the most insane microphone collection, vintage microphone collection in the world. I mean, I don't think anything can touch that microphone collection.
Yep.
And one of the mics he has is called a Telefunken 270, am I right?
Yes.
What this microphone is, it's the world's only stereo 251 microphone. The
Probably
only
worth
one.
$100,000.
I'd say it's probably worth $100,000, wouldn't you say? I mean, it's probably at this point priceless.
It doesn't matter because I won't sell it.
Exactly. So we're in this mic locker, and John's standing here. Fabrice is standing about three feet away from him, and I'm kind of just watching over. And John pulls out this 270 microphone and says, this is the world's only stereo 251. And then he looks at Fabrice and he goes, "Can you catch?" And before I can think, he tosses this mic in the air.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, God.
I'm watching this mic arc towards my business partner. And it was the slowest 1 second of my life. I mean, I saw my past lives, my future lives. I saw my future children, little Billy Slate running around. I mean, it was like a near,
Billy Slate.
I don't know. I mean, it was just the most insane thing I've ever seen. And I just see Fabrice's face and he catches it.
Thank God.
He catches it.
Thank God.
And it was at that point I said, I've got to work with this guy because he's absolutely effing insane.
Yeah.
And I need to be
The
around
FCC
that
has given us
insanity.
permission to cuss.
Right.
Okay,
And
yeah.
by the way, just so you know, which you might not know, when John and I first talked about this union that you now just talked about, that's exactly how he described you. He said he said, "Hey Herb, he's a fucking animal." and those are the definers that kind of work for us. So let's go back to the union. You guys meet. There is a chemical connection. There's all the kinds of things that, because we're those kind of people. If it doesn't fit kind of in your gut, it's hard to do it another way. And then what precipitated the next step? You just said, look, let's figure this out.
Well, it started with an email. Stephen had sent me an email one time, and I thought, and I've gotten hundreds of emails from people wanting to do a Blackbird plug-in package or a this or that or whatever. And I've always just uniformly went, no. I just didn't have any interest. I don't know why. I at the time, especially this started about 10 years ago, and 10 years ago I didn't feel like the quality of the plugins were what they are today. I didn't feel like, I wasn't sure. I mean, I hadn't used a lot of plugins, still haven't used a lot of plugins, but I love audio. And Stephen really got my attention. And I picked up the phone and called him, and we had some great conversations. And then when we got together, it felt right.
Magic.
It was just
I
right.
mean, the first that we were at Blackbird that night till I think 4 or 5 in the morning,
Yeah.
just playing with gear,
Should've called
listening
her.
to microphones. I mean, we just had a blast. It was such a fun time. I mean, I'm always so, in development mode, but just to be back in that amazing studio with this amazing character and just playing around with gear and listening to audio and testing out stuff and seeing, mics that no one else has ever seen before and seeing that massive drum collection and just seeing the embodiment of this
It
man
reminded
in
me
the
of listening
studio.
to records when you were a kid.
Yeah,
you want to bring your
of
friends
Sure.
over, listen to
well,
this,
that's
listen to
actually,
this.
if you remember, that's another thing we did. Then we just at one point sat in, I think, in D and just listened to tons of
that's what
great
you did with us,
music.
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you get forced into the Massenburg room and listen to everything ever made in 5.1
Yeah,
again?
that's exactly what we
Yeah,
did. I
we
thought-
did too.
See, now I feel less special. I thought that you just did that for us.
No.
Okay,
It's
see,
only
but he
for a
makes
few
you feel
special
that
people,
way.
yeah.
See,
With
see?
Sam, it was really 4.1.
That's why we're partners,
sure.
buddy. That's why we're partners.
I'd like for both of you guys to answer this because I think it would be fun for our audience to hear your opinions. You said that you felt plugins had made significant strides in their ability to do the things that, on a musical level, that you kind of come to expect from the equipment you own. And I know you've recently taken plugins to even another level than what John even knows about in terms of the way you've been able to model a lot of the things. In terms of your exposure to plugins, are we there yet from your perspective? And I'm going to ask you the same question.
I would defer to Stephen, honestly. I don't feel like I'm qualified to answer that question.
But do you feel like we're getting closer?
Yes, I know we are.
Okay, good.
There's no
go
question
into it
about that.
if you didn't.
And do you
Although
feel-
I will still take a Pultec over a plug-in. I'm sorry, I'm going to take a over the Pultec plug-in or a Fairchild over the
Well,
Fairchild
if you
plug-in.
wouldn't do that, then you wouldn't be you. I'd be scared.
Well,
the,
yeah.
the day,
And
the,
what-
day, the day John calls me up and says, "I'm gonna not use any of my gear. I'm just gonna use plugins."
Oh,
that's
no,
gonna
we
be a
can't
scary
do
day.
that.
I'm gonna
We're not
start.
having
I'm gonna
it.
start.
There's already been instructions
start
to
buying
kill
lots
me.
of gear.
There'll be an
Yeah.
intervention.
No.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
fly down and intervene.
But to answer your question, Dave, yeah, we are there with plugins, and it really just matters about, just like a piece of analog gear that depends on a designer and an intelligent design, a plugin is the same way. There's not, the plugins are very synonymous with analog outboard gear because, like, for instance, you have a designer like Fabrice and a team like the one we have at Slate who care about making this plugins sound a certain way and perform a certain way, given the fact that we have the talented design team and the CPU power to, power up these quite complex algorithms that are reproducing these complex analog circuits. We are there, and we've proven that we're there by doing, what Slate tries to do is we try to show, put our audio where our marketing is. We do ABs with our, plugins versus the gear, and we allow people to see if they can hear a difference. And unfortunately, with the stuff we've made, a lot of people have found it sounds exactly the same, and that's what we go for. Not that it's always about making it sound exactly the same, it's about making a great musical tool, but that's why we try to model tools that we know are proven musical tools, like the stuff that's coming out in our, the new virtual mix rack modules and so on and so forth, or some of the compressors we modeled for the BBC or the tape machines. These are all gear that I know is musical, and I don't choose them just for any other reason than the fact that they help make great music.
The first time that I was exposed to your name was through your drum samples. When you went down there, I bet you got wood, no pun intended, over his drum collection because you thought at one time 20 kits was excessive.
That's true.
You thought at one time 20 kits was excessive, and this man's got how many?
45. He's got
Somewhere in there.
45
So
kids.
that feels like something that could produce something I could buy and own, doesn't it?
Don't tell
certainly
my
could.
wife. She keeps going, when are you going to sell some of those drums? But so-and-so likes that one kit. Anyway.
Well, I mean, I always thought that I had the worst drum disease. At one point, I think I had 20-something kits, and I had that disease where I'd hear a drum and I'd have to buy it. I remember going through a garage sale in West Hollywood, and there's some beat-up, crappy drum, and I went really quick and I hit it, and I was like, man, how, $25. I'm just buying garage sale drums. It was just weird, and I thought that no one was crazier than me. Then, of course, I meet John McBride, and he out-crazies me yet again.
No, he's crazy. He just told me that he bought a towel because it gave him the same sound.
300 towels.
300
Yeah,
towels.
sorry, but
because it gave him the same sound that Ken and all the other Beatles engineers would lay over
The toms.
Ringo's toms,
Yeah.
and this was the only towel that gave him that sound.
or
Sure.
snare. Yeah.
And-
No, Ken Scott, I learned a lot the week he came in and did
That's
Blackbird
excessive.
sessions. It
That's
was amazing.
excessive.
But I gotta say, I heard those toms with those tea towels on them. It
So,
sounded damn
so
good.
are we going to get the McBride towel plug in now? Is that what's next?
You might get the virtual towel.
Virtual towel.
Yeah.
The VTP,
Yeah.
towel plug.
Can you put a P logo on it? We'll give them away as gifts.
Sure, we'll work something
We'll
out.
work it out. We'll work it out.
Herb, get me out of this loop. I'm stuck here.
Well, what I was going to allude to was you guys were gracious enough to inform us early about this union coming on, and we were sort of soft teasing it on air. And part of what we were struggling with was we were so excited, we kind of had to tamp it down because we just knew the level of excellence that's going to go into this product, and that these folks are going to be relentless about making sure it's a really good musical experience. So we kept saying, well, the two powerhouses are getting together, and well, let's back off. But we wanted to say, this is going to be incredible, and so on and so forth. So what I think so far that you guys have, because you recently got the deal done and moving forward, there will be a series of things eventually in terms of your thought process, right? This is going to go over time, and it's going to cover lots of different spaces and so on and so forth.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, the idea is to figure out how we can make products that will allow people to experience what the Blackbird brand is all about and what that studio is all about.
Yeah.
And obviously you can, without having to go into specific things, I'm sure people can imagine all the different types of products that we can collaborate on.
Whew. Well, for those,
I know what I want.
what's that?
Steven's known for his expansion packs. I'd love to have an expansion pack. Just saying, Steven.
Okay.
Just saying, I'd love to have an expansion pack with some new drum samples. Not really sure where they're going to come from, but I'd love to have that.
Just putting it out in the universe, right?
Sure.
Yeah, just put that out there.
We'll have to write that one down.
Got it.
I always say, oh, go ahead, Herm.
Well, I was going to say, what I don't know if folks necessarily know are the backgrounds. So when did you start and how did you start?
Well, I started trying to be a rock star when I was a kid. I wanted to be one of the Beatles. So I started playing guitar when I was, 11, 12, 13, and I was in bands and started, playing in bands thinking I was going to be playing stadiums, and I was actually playing empty bars and in broken down vans with smelly band members. And I said, well, this isn't exactly where I thought this would be, and started getting into audio engineering. And when I was in high school, I started working at studios and becoming an intern. Luckily, I was in the metropolitan area, New Jersey, New York, Manhattan, and got to experience a lot over there and worked with a lot of cool people. And when I moved to Los Angeles, I brought my drum sample pack with me, thinking it would help me get a job as a protege to someone like Dave. And it kind of backfired on me. Instead of making me a protege, they just wanted more drum samples for me. So I'd get these calls.
That's what I remember. Your drum sounds were like, I made a lot of money off of those. I'm glad I paid for them. I felt guilty.
So do I. I'm glad you paid for them too. So I started. That was my first product line into the pro audio business. So that was my first change. First it was a change from a wannabe musician to a wannabe engineer, and then all of a sudden I started making product, and then that's where I started to feel like most at home about making stuff, because it was a similar process to making music. When you make a piece of music, you gotta write it, you gotta gather a good team, you gotta have musicians, and then you end up with a product. I mean, making any type of product is the same way. You still gather a good team. You've got to go through trials and tribulations, and you end up with a product as well. But the good news is running the audio companies still allows me to have a studio and make music, and I'm producing this really cool new artist right now, and on my off time, and I have fun with it. I don't have to do it for any
off time.
So was Kansas where it all started with you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Wichita, Kansas, the cultural center of the universe. Not much music
so
business.
Says Glenn Campbell, but he was just a lineman there.
The Wichita lineman, that's right. I grew up in Wichita, and I was a huge music fan, and I knew I had to be involved in music. But growing up, I never ever dreamed that you could actually make a living in music. I thought, well, that's for English people and people in New York and LA. I mean, well, kind of, I really know. But anyway, I was just a huge fan of music, and I started taking apart the parent stereo and trying to see how this works and figuring it out. And
I did that.
I had an aunt and uncle that lived in Singapore, and they gave me a Telefunken turntable.
Nice.
Whoa. And I thought, oh, this is the coolest thing ever.
Heaven. Sure.
Because everything I associated with them was top quality, and anyway, I fell in love with music, and when I was 18 or 19, I went to the bank and tried to borrow money to start a studio, and thank God they said no. Well, they didn't say no, they laughed me out of the place, really, because I'd still be struggling in Wichita, Kansas with the studio right now if they would have done that, I'm sure.
Wow.
So anyway, I ended up going the live route. And I thought, well, I can, I borrowed $6,000 and bought a couple of speakers, a couple of mics. I think I paid $400 for a 421 and $150 for a 58. I can get them cheaper today. But anyway, in a stereo 10-band EQ and a 12-channel biamp mixer.
Wow.
And I went around to the bars in Wichita, and I put PA for rent. And somebody called.
Wow.
And then I realized you need monitors, you need more mics, you need snakes, you need this, you need that, you need the separate monitor board. Anyway, it all worked out.
Yeah.
And I started live because I couldn't afford to start studio.
Well, I'm just kind of curious. What was the first Beatles record you fell in love with?
Sgt. Pepper.
About you, John?
Same thing. Well, actually, what Beatles record can you not fall in love with?
By the way, that's another pretty interesting connection between us. I mean,
For me, it was the whole Norwegian Wood album. That was still my favorite.
Rubber Soul and Revolver are just.
I mean, once I got into Sgt. Pepper, I went down.
They lost me with Sgt. Pepper's. I thought that was kind of Broadway. I think you guys are wrong. You want to do another answer?
No, you know what's funny? I don't care where you start. Because you'll go back.
Exactly.
You'll find everything.
That's what I was going to say.
And
as soon as Pepper was just the entrance into the whole Beatles. And then I went the whole way, back and forth.
You don't have to feel guilty, Stephen. It's okay.
All the nights.
I mean, hey, you know, you can insult one of the greatest albums of all time. I mean, you got to sleep with that. I'm going to wake up tomorrow fine, Dave. I mean, you're the one who's going to have to live with that.
Another kind of cruddy album, Dark Side of the Moon, was
Or how about that Wall, guy?
I want our audience to back me up on social media on this. I think that you guys will go along with me. I'm usually correct on those sorts of things.
Well, the beauty of Sgt. Pepper's was it was take a trip and never leave the farm. You know, I mean, that music was the closest thing to drugs that I had experienced at the time.
It was drug related. It wasn't close.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was amazing.
And it was hallucinogenic.
And I fell in love with everything the Beatles ever did. I mean, early on, all those nights they spent playing 8 hours a night, you know, in Germany. They were the best rock band on the planet, I thought.
Yeah. And all kidding aside, by the way, I agree with you guys, but all kidding aside, we didn't have access to the Academy. We didn't have access to a lot of the information.
I wish we would have.
And those records were little mini courses in how to do things right.
Well, I got to tell you, Jeff Emmerich, who I've been fortunate enough to spend time with, and Ken Scott, they both said we had very little gear. We just had to abuse the gear we had to get the sounds we got.
Wow. Well, Sgt. Pepper's was a 4-track.
Yeah,
right.
Well, 2 4-tracks. They just bounced back and forth between 2 4-track
J37s, man, and C37s. We got them at the studio.
Here again, I want my audience to understand. You don't have to send me 200 tracks anymore. You can send me 8. I'll give you a discount for 8.
Not gonna happen.
I hope not. It's a different world, you know.
Well, the other great thing about that, the way they made those records, they had to commit to relationships, to mix relationships. You know, we're balancing engineers. But when you're taking 4 tracks down to 1 on the second 4-track, you've committed these 4, whatever it is, whether it's bass, drums, and a backing vocal or whatever. You've got to commit to that when you go down to 1 track on the second 4-track. There's a beauty to that, and they were the best in the world at it.
Yeah, it's humbling what they did with what they had.
You're right.
Stephen, we were talking about plugins earlier. The last part of the process to get closer to the analog, you seem to have kind of figured that out, you and Fabrice. What was it? Was it the transformer part, the modulation, the harmonics? What was the things that you were...
It all depends on the specific process we're working on. Sometimes, well, I'll tell you this, the transformers have always been complex, and it's a very complex device, and to make it a model digitally that replicates what a transformer does, for instance, like the transformer in a Universal Audio 1176 or the transformer in an Eve module, it's very difficult, and it's been a process that's been ongoing, and it's been challenging. But to answer your question, at the end, it's all the above. It's little bits of tweaking the transformer. It's tweaking a little bit of the timing of the compression. It's tweaking the gain staging of how the relationship of the gain reduction and the timing are interrelated. And it's so many different little things. And sometimes, that last 5% are 100% the hardest things to get, I mean, it's really that last 5% that's always proven to be difficult, and it's different every time, and Xanax helps.
Well, Stephen, to be fair, it's not just the software world that has trouble replicating those transformers. It's the analog world. You can't make a transformer in the analog world that sounds like some of those old Jensens, some of the old, is it Carhartt, John?
Carnhill and
Carnhill, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, being on the digital side and actually being able to see and analyze what they do gives you a whole new appreciation for them, because they're very complex what they do to audio.
And talking to Fabrice and watching the way this guy's mind works, it's so inspiring to me, because he goes to places I've never even considered, I haven't even thought about, and to do what he does. And it's truly amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like he's got the secret to the universe.
Right.
It's crazy.
We've got a lot of compressors from you. We've got a lot of drum sounds. Can we expect any kind of ambient reverb program from you guys? A collaboration in that regard in any way?
Well, again, what I want to say is, I mean, the Blackbird studios surely have some of the coolest sounding rooms, chambers, and you can imagine with a collaboration, I think that would make sense.
I know it's real early in the relationship. You guys just signed paperwork.
Sure. But
We're
yeah,
looking for a
I can
sugar
drink,
daddy
can
where
I?
we can just hang out there and keep doing this all day long.
We're all looking for the same thing.
Yeah, you know? Please come support us and let us
Please.
just create more audio, please.
Absolutely.
You know,
I just had a thought, going back to something we said earlier. I have this saying that that all the great studios have the same exact gear, and there's not a dime's bit of difference in them except for their lounges and assistants. And I just realized sitting in front of John, I was wrong. John McBride's studio is different. It's not the same as all the other
absolutely
studios.
right, for sure.
And there's something to be said for that.
Last week, you should have heard Joe Ciccarelli talk about it.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. He was
Joe
just-
works there a lot. I love the guy.
listen,
and he's amazing. He does great work.
He's so talented.
he's-
but it's interesting to hear that confirmation
The
across the board
way
from other people.
the way I looked at it, Dave, was this. I'm going to look at that artist and that engineer and that producer as painters. And not just painters, as Michelangelo, as Da Vinci. I want to give him every color on the palette. If you need 3 or some major space stations and a Delta Lab acoustic computer to get the sound you want, well, here you go.
There you go.
And 20 of them.
Well, but that's so important to me. I
Who's
never
asked
want,
for a space station?
Well, one client. Anyway, we have 6.
Oh,
you know,
I mean the delay units.
yeah.
I thought you meant like the one that's in the sky.
No, not.
I was
No,
about to
thank
say,
God.
like, that's
not
a
that.
really needy
But he'll
client.
provide it if he needs to.
But it sounds so much better when it bounces off.
Sure
okay,
does.
right.
That
Sure
was the
does.
first reverb unit I ever used, John.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
think about it. I knew nothing, and that was the most complex thing.
Oh, my
I thought,
God.
Who makes that Roland? Is it
Ursa
Lexicon.
Major, wasn't it? Ursa Major was
Ursa
Oh, was
Major.
it
Ursa Major,
Yeah, I don't
that's
know
right.
much about those units. I gotta do my homework on that
And the
stuff.
Delta Lab acoustic computer. When I finally had a really good club gig that paid enough money, I bought a Delta Lab DL2. And it does so many things. I never figured it out. Never
right?
fully figured it out.
Yeah, I was
Never.
that way with the.
But it would do flanging and
The
it did.
prime time I could never figure
Oh,
out. I never
yeah,
could make
those are
that thing.
I got to get into all these cool old effects units.
Well, why don't you start?
that's one
Why don't you
area
start with a
that-
Cooper Time Cube?
Yes.
That'd be a good place for you to start.
It's a great idea. We got 8 of those too.
Got one knob.
They are
Oh,
great.
I
though.
like that. I bet you that one knob does a lot of stuff.
No, the
That
UAD
sounds
Cooper
fun.
Time Cube's actually pretty nice,
cool.
John. Have you played with that? I like it a lot.
I love a Cooper
Now,
Time.
here's a
Cube.
question for you guys.
We had one. Ed and I had one.
We're going to move into your athletic side because you have to knock his block off with this upcoming segment. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready, John. You ready?
You ready
No
for
problem.
your batter's box segment there?
No
I do.
problem.
I just need one little smart-ass opening, but I'm going to probably not use it today.
Oh, well, that would be different than what you ordinarily do. So, so go
I
ahead
didn't
with your
say
smart ass
good
opening.
one.
Oh, I
Because
got
John
you.
taught me that I should go for great.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to teach you one of my sayings. It's better to sound new than sound good. But if you can, do both.
Okay.
Work through that. We'll
I'll
process
I
that
don't know,
later.
John. I'm just trying to show off.
All
here.
right, sir. Fire away. Throw
Here we
the first
go. Here we
pitch.
go.
Is this going to John or me or both?
You know what? Let's make this a competition. Whoever answers first and the other one answers second. And feel free to hit, fight, bite.
Oh no,
claw.
you have to say that. I was going to do that anyway.
Okay. Snare.
I mean, you go, John.
SM57 on top, C12 underneath. Telefunken mic, please.
Boom.
Gotcha.
I'll go-
B76 or 72.
Wow.
I'll go with a 57 tape to like a KM84 or C451 to add a little bit of sizzle on the top. And then I don't even care what goes in the bottom. Just something.
I don't either, by the way.
Something.
The
To,
C12.
I mean, you know, something to catch a little bit of that rattle. It's gonna sound crappy anyway. Just mix a little bit of it in and crack a little Pultec on it. And if you can't
The
make
right-
that sound like a snare, then something's wrong.
the right drummer.
There you go.
Okay. Neumann.
U47.
Yeah, I have to say U47. What a classic.
That's so boring.
Granddad. The granddad of
Yeah.
them all, man. My hero.
Compression.
I'm a Fairchild guy. 660.
How many of them do you have, John?
Oh, not that many.
40 channels, John.
No, not that. No, we don't have quite that many. We have 20-something channels. But
That's all.
I love Fairchild compressors. I do. And the thing is,
Oh, John. Hold on.
You know, I'm going to give a shout out to the Universal Audio 1176 because
I love
it's
that
something
too.
that, you know, my company's been studying so much over the past year, and it's such a complex beast, and it's just such a cool sounding box, and the transformers and how it reacts to
I
audio.
don't
are
need
just,
a novel. Just one word.
I want to
Fair
throw a
enough.
175 and a 176 in there too, and a 33609 with metal knobs.
I want to
There
throw
again,
a,
John.
I'll
One
throw
word
a,
here.
I'll,
Let's
okay,
go. Let's
all
get
right.
it moving, guys.
throw a Focusrite red,
Live
red,
sound.
red 3 real quick.
Pay attention. Live
Sure.
sound.
That's what I do.
what he does.
Cool.
Your plugins work good live sound. Okay, give me a new answer. Beatles.
D19C with a BA86 compressor on the piano. That's what they did for Lady Madonna.
Oh, okay.
And it's the greatest piano sound I ever heard. I heard that when I was a kid, and I went, oh my God. And I ran out and bought the 45, of course.
Wow.
Abbey Road Studio 2. My vision of walking down that stair and seeing the embodiment of where all that magic happened.
Man, two great answers. That's a tie for sure. If stranded on an island, what piece of gear?
Electric smoker. Cook some food up in that island.
Good idea. Agree.
Sonic ice machine.
Are you working on a virtual version of that?
I should. Probably
I like the Sonic ice machine personally. But I'd bring out that Delta Lab acoustic computer and finally figure it out.
There you go.
That's what I'd do.
Give me credit for that one. That was a horrible answer. Tape.
Smells good.
Great.
Studer. I love Studer.
There you go.
Me too.
There you go.
Love Studer.
Plugins. John, go first.
Stephen Slate. That's what comes to my mind.
Stephen?
And
Future
Fabrice.
partners.
There you go.
Current partners.
Current partners.
And what's the name of the union? Is there?
Well, I pictured it being like this.
Blackbird? I don't know.
Well,
Bait? I don't know.
Slate bird, you mean?
Slate bird. There you go.
I just figured it'd be like, I want you to picture a marquee, and I want you to picture Slate really big, and then Blackbird under it, maybe not so big, you know.
Yeah.
So it'd be like Slate, Blackbird.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's going to end up that
I
way.
like Slackbird. That's like,
First time I'd ever thought of that. It just happened.
in fact, that was number 10, so we're already
We're already
done.
off and rolling.
Oh my God,
We've
I want
named
more.
it. We've branded it. We've
We
done
need
this
more.
stuff.
That was 10 of them.
That was a very aggressive and good batter's box.
That's my favorite batter box we've ever done. I'll admit defeat. You guys.
They doubled up on you for
Well,
sure.
they didn't have to. Any one, both individually, they would have beaten.
Well, one
me.
bat's right-handed, one bat's left-handed. You kind of didn't have a chance.
I didn't have a chance.
So let's introduce our man Chongor Gantz over in the corner office. Chongor, you over there?
Yeah, I'm hanging out.
How are you doing?
Don't bring up yourself.
Yeah, we're good.
Don't
We're
be
good.
ad-libbing, Chongor.
So we got a few questions for our guests.
Yeah, we do. Let's get it started.
Fire away. sir.
Chongor, there again. Don't be ad-libbing.
This first one's from Michael Graham. It's for John. If there's a fire and you can only save one piece of audio equipment, what do you grab?
Wow.
My Neve 8078, the greatest console on the planet. That one is the greatest. I only know this because we spent 6 months and a ton of money and brought in Jeff Tanner, who worked for Neve when they built the console. And we addressed every issue that console had coming out of the factory. And you take any session, plug it through that Neve, put the faders up to 0, and then everyone will go, what'd you do? What'd you do? What'd you do? It's an amazing console.
Wow.
How could you carry that in a fire?
I'd find a way. I'd probably die with it, but that's okay, man. You know,
It's so romantic.
it is too heavy. You're right.
Chongor, you got another one?
Wait, hold on one second. Hey, Chongor, remind me to add that to my batter's box list of questions. The gentleman that asked that, that's an incredible question. I got to add that to batter's box. That's a really great question.
So Chongor,
Other than that, it would be a handful of microphones, no question.
This next one's from Jamie Donnelly for Steven. How many times have you finished a plugin only to play with the next morning and then go down the rabbit hole again? How do you know when a plugin's finished?
Man.
When they pry it from his hand.
yeah, exactly.
That happens enough for Fabrice and a few other of my team members to really sometimes hate me. Yeah, there's definitely times where, you know, if you sit there and you test a plugin out for 12 hours, you think, okay, I think I got it. I think I got it. And you get excited and you throw an email out and, all right, guys, I think we nailed it. And then the next morning I come in and I'm like, no, this is a little off. You throw some different program material and you're like, oh, well, this is a little off. And then you're like, okay, how do I throw this out there without them getting mad? And then I realized soon after, they always get mad anyway. So I just am honest. Like, yeah, I know I said it was all good yesterday, but now we need this little change. And sometimes what happens, that little change happens, and it fixes that, but then it makes a new problem. This is the wonderful world of creating plugins and analog modeling.
I got a part B to Jamie's question.
I've got a part C when you're done.
Okay. How important are your beta team in terms of helping you get to completion?
Well, they're really important, especially for the technical aspects of the plugin and making sure they work. It's a hard thing to do because there's so many different, computer systems and operating systems and DAWs and plugin formats. I mean, it is not easy. People, people think it's just why doesn't it always work? Why isn't it working in my, operating system from XP from 11 years ago? It should be working fine. Well, it's not always the easiest thing. So the beta team is really important in that.
What I was going to say from the artist perspective, I'm fortunate to be married to an incredible woman and an incredible artist, Martina. She has never finished an album and will never finish an album. She's had to stop at some point and turn it in.
Well, that's
Never, ever has she been, this record's ready, ever.
That's kind of you with mixes.
I'm sure it might be.
Wipe that smile off your face, Herbert.
It costs us money, but you're just never satisfied.
To answer Jamie's question, I mean, we're finishing a plugin now that we told people which should be finished, 2 months or so ago. But what's holding up is the desire for perfectionism. And if we say it's going to sound a certain way, it has to sound a certain way. We put a lot of different audio through it. We throw it out through a lot of our, VIP team of extra ears, And it's really done when it matches what we're trying to do and it meets the product that it needs to be.
Perfection knows no clock.
Exactly.
And then once you finish it, V2's ready to come out.
Yeah.
Right.
2.0.
We're all
Or someone changes the plugin
crippled.
format.
And I can't stand the thought of someone not being happy, for instance, recording a Blackbird. That's why I tried to stack the deck so heavily in our favor that they couldn't deny that they had a good experience. I mean, I don't know.
But that's a shared dynamic amongst all who want to really be great. The good's not good enough.
I would expect so.
No question. Sean Gore, one more.
This one's from Juan Garcia for both. Outside of bagpipes, what's the most unique instrument you recorded, and how do you mic it?
Oh man, that's a hard one.
I know the answer for me.
Go for it.
A few years ago, if you guys remember, we recorded the unreleased fart sample pack.
With Ed Journey.
With Ed Journey, the amazing Ed Journey.
The funniest video ever.
And, it was a challenge. I mean, we really, had to figure out how to capture the resonance. We had to protect the microphones.
Well, the question I would ask is, did you utilize a plug-in or was it analog?
No, we went all analog on that one. I mean, this is Ed Journey.
Well, analog makes sense, I guess.
It's a good point.
Analog.
It's a really good point, analog. Yeah.
Lord. Leave it to Stephen to end the show on flatulence.
The show just went to its natural level.
It's good to be back, guys.
My God, I love me some Stephen Slate.
So, gents, brothers of the cloth. I mean, we just share and we go for it. You guys are title sponsors of ours, so Dave and I thank you for that and making sure that we can keep bringing this show to the way we bring it. You all know the inside story, so we all share those things together. We got a long future together. We're going to go do some great shit together like we've been doing. It's not nearly done. Gear Expo is going to be big. We're going to keep you guys abreast of what they're doing and when they're ready, and we're going to get that information out at the right time. We're going to have a ball. We love you both, individually and separately. Together, it's just a monster. Dave, take us home.
Hey, guys, I'm sitting here thinking about something. I want all the parents to leave the room. This is just between us, guys. One of the things I love about everybody sitting at this panel is we never had a safety net. We never had a plan B. We never had a backup plan. It was this or nothing. And I don't know that that's the best way to be. All I know is what I respect about Herb and Stephen and John is they've had a clarity of vision and purpose from the day they were born, it seems like. And the safety net was never a requirement. They were going for it hell or high water, to mix a metaphor. And I think that what that translates to is passion. And if you don't have a passion for something, then there's other options for you in life. It's not a negative thing. But audio and being successful in all the aspects of audio can require, most often does, a little bit of sacrifice. And that sacrifice is kind of made bearable by the passion for doing it. And whenever I get a little bit tired at night and have too much to do, I do think about these guys and guys like them and how that passion got them through, and I'm just whining unnecessarily and I make it through the night. So if you don't take anything away from what you saw today, take away that passion and that commitment to excellence. I think it'll help you in your careers. All right, next time.